It is almost midnight. A woman is walking home alone. The fog is so thick she cannot see the end of the street. She hears footsteps behind her. She walks faster. The footsteps walk faster. She stops. The footsteps stop. She knows she is not going to make it home tonight. She turns to run. A man steps out of the fog directly in front of her. Still, silent. A knife glints in his hand. It is Jack the Ripper, the monster who has haunted the streets of Whitechapel for months. She does not know his name, but she knows exactly what is about to happen. She turns to run for her life, but another figure is standing behind her. Tall, pale, motionless. His eyes glow through the fog. It is Dracula, a creature no one in London has ever seen, and lived long enough to tell the tale. Two monsters, one on each side. She has no idea which one she should fear more. The Ripper takes one step toward her. Dracula moves between them. Not fast, not dramatic. He simply steps forward and the Ripper stops. Something passes between the two of them. No words, no threats. Just two predators reading each other in the dark. Dracula turns to the girl. He reaches into his coat and produces a small bottle. Dark glass, ancient, sealed with black wax. He holds it out to her quietly, calmly, the way you hand something to someone who needs it.
Drink.
One word. She takes it. She does not know why. Her hands are shaking, but they open the wax and lift the bottle without her telling them to. She drinks. Something warm moves through her from her throat into her chest and outward. The shaking stops. The fog stops mattering. The man with the knife stops mattering. Everything that was terrifying a moment ago becomes distant, like a story she read once about someone else. Dracula steps closer. He tilts her chin up with one finger. He looks directly into her eyes. His eyes do not blink.
Go home. Sleep well. You remember nothing of tonight.
She turns. She walks into the fog, steady, unhurried. She does not look back. The Ripper has watched every second of this. Now the street is empty except for the two of them. Mary was not an ordinary woman, not to Dracula. She was 23 years old, a seamstress on Flower and Dean Street, 4 minutes from the factory where she worked 6 days a week. She walked home alone on Tuesday and Thursday nights through the worst streets in London. He had been watching her for 6 weeks before the first murder, following her home on those same nights, standing in doorways as she passed. She never knew. She never once felt it. That is how good he was at this. She was not bait. She was never bait. That idea came later, a cold, practical decision made when Dracula was running out of options. But the truth was simpler and far more disturbing than that. He had chosen her. Weeks before the Ripper arrived. Weeks before any of this began. In 400 years, he had stood in rooms with queens and empresses. He had seen beauty that started wars and intelligence that ended them. Mary was a seamstress who walked home alone through the worst streets in London, and she was more interesting than all of them. He was watching her. He was following her. He was protecting her not because it was right, but because she was his. She just did not know it yet. And then Jack the Ripper arrived in Whitechapel. The first body appeared on the 31st of August, Bucks Row. Dracula heard the constable's whistle from 3 streets away. He watched from a rooftop as the lanterns arrived and his dark streets turned orange and loud and crowded. He had been feeding in Whitechapel for 8 months, quietly, carefully. Not a single person had noticed. 8 days later, a second body appeared in Hanbury Street. Police flooded the district. Gas lamps burned until sunrise. The streets he moved through like shadows became corridors of light and watchful eyes. He moved, found narrower routes, stayed higher, stayed smaller. But the real problem was not the police. The real problem was Mary. She still walked home on Tuesday and Thursday nights, through Whitechapel, through the streets the newspapers were printing maps of, through the exact hunting ground of the man they were calling Jack the Ripper, alone, with no idea. He followed her every time, every Tuesday, every Thursday, making sure the other predator in Whitechapel did not find her first. The 30th of September was the worst. 2 bodies in one night, 45 minutes apart. The police response filled every corner, every alley, every shadow he had considered his own. For 11 days, he could not feed.
He stood on rooftops and watched his territory shrink, lantern by lantern, constable by constable. And he felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Rage. Not at the dead women. Rage at what was being done to his streets. Rage at the inconvenience. And something else, harder to name, at the thought of that blade ever getting close to Flower and Dean Street. He began to track the killer. 3 nights to find the pattern. Tuesdays east to west, Thursdays north along Commercial Street, consistent, intelligent, reading the police patrols and adjusting within 24 hours. Whoever this was, he understood the dark almost as well as Dracula did. Dracula got close twice in 3 weeks. Both times the man was gone before he could position himself. Fast, silent, completely without hesitation, the way something moves when it has spent years learning how to disappear. By the 2nd week of October, one thing was certain. He would not stop on his own. And as long as he continued, Whitechapel would stay bright and watched and closed. And Mary would keep walking home, alone, through streets that were no longer safe, not from the Ripper, and not yet safe from what Dracula himself intended. He set the trap. He chose the corner of Thrall Street, where the man passed on Tuesdays at 11:15. He positioned Mary as the point of contact, a woman walking alone, exactly what drew him in. He would be waiting behind her when the Ripper arrived in front. He did not feel badly about using her this way. He told himself that. He almost believed it. Now they stand in the fog. The girl is gone. The street is empty. The Thames moves somewhere to the south, dark and indifferent. The Ripper tilts his head.
I have been watching. You watch me.
His voice is calm, educated, unhurried. The voice of a man who has never been caught and does not believe tonight will be the first time.
3 weeks. You are very patient. Most things are not, in my experience.
He takes one step closer, not threatening, evaluating, the way a man of science approaches something he has not yet classified.
I have a proposition. 2 hunters, same streets. This is inefficient. You work at night. I work at night. The police are destroying both our arrangements.
He spreads his hands open, almost reasonable. I can move in daylight. You cannot.
That has a value. We could be very useful to each other.
You have turned my streets into a cage.
The Ripper nods.
Temporarily, give it a month.
You were going to touch something of mine.
A pause. The Ripper's eyes move briefly to where Mary disappeared.
The woman, I was not aware she belonged to anyone.
She does.
The Ripper looks at him for a long moment. Something moves behind his eyes. Not fear, not even close to fear. Calculation. The search for a new angle. He is intelligent enough to understand that the conversation is changing. He is not intelligent enough to understand what that means. There is a law older than London, older than the fog and the Thames and the stones beneath the street. It is not written anywhere. It does not need to be. 2 predators cannot rule the same darkness. One of them has to end. The Ripper opens his mouth. It was, by all accounts, going to be something worth hearing. He goes to Flower and Dean Street. Her window is lit. Third floor. He does not go to the door. He does not knock. He has knocked on 10,000 doors across 4 centuries and been welcomed in without question, but not her door, not without being asked. He finds a ledge on the building opposite, same height as her window. He stands there. He watches. She has bathed. She came back to her room in a white nightgown, dark auburn hair loose and damp for the first time since he began following her. She moves through the small room with no awareness of anything beyond her 4 walls and her 1 candle. She pours a glass of water, drinks it, looking at nothing in particular, picks up a small book, reads 2 pages, maybe 3, sets it down. She blows out the candle. The window goes dark. From the ledge opposite, Dracula hears her heartbeat settle into the long, even rhythm of deep sleep. The same heartbeat he has followed through Whitechapel for 6 weeks, steady, calm, completely unaware of him. She is safe. She is home. He stands on that ledge for a very long time. He has no name for this. 400 years, and he has never found a word for what he is doing right now, watching someone sleep, unable to enter, unwilling to leave. He will come back. He always comes back to what he has chosen. The night Jack the Ripper stood in the fog across from Dracula, that was the last anyone in London would see of him. No final letter, no final move, no explanation. He simply stopped, completely. The man who had operated with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of something inhuman gone, as if he had never existed. Scotland Yard could not accept that. They waited, for weeks, for months, for one more sign that he was still out there, still planning, still watching. It never came. They investigated for years, brought in suspects, arrested men, put them in rooms and asked them hard questions and watched their faces carefully for something, anything that might connect them to what had happened in Whitechapel. They released every single one. No evidence. Every time. No evidence. Because the real Jack the Ripper was never in any of those rooms. He was never going to be. By the time Scotland Yard had their first serious suspect sitting across a table, the man they were actually looking for was already somewhere between London and the sea. There is a river beneath London most people do not know exists, the Fleet, London's oldest river. Buried underground in the 1820s, bricked over, built across, forgotten, but it still runs. Black water moving through a stone tunnel 50 feet below the streets, carrying everything the city wants to forget south toward the Thames and out to open sea. On the night of the 10th of November, 1888, something entered the Fleet through an iron grate in a back alley of Whitechapel. The Fleet carried what it was given south, beneath the police stations, beneath the newspaper offices, beneath the homes of women sleeping safely for the first time in months, south to the Thames, from the Thames to the sea, into cold, deep water where nothing returns. Scotland Yard kept their files open for 135 years. None of them thought to look underwater. History spent 135 years asking who Jack the Ripper was. They never asked what ended him, or why the streets of Whitechapel went quiet after the 9th of November and stayed that way. Some darkness, once removed, does not return. It simply waits.